guys, but I just thought that was really fun.
Well, since y'all already eavesdropping, I didn't learn it was eavesdropping until like 2 years ago, man. You are now listening to the Nomtombout radio show, 91.7 WBXU HD2 station, or you're streaming us live on radioartifact.com. You heard us in here having a conversation. Got my co-host in here.
What up, everybody? Vibe 1 checking in. We're back for another week. Peace and love, and shout out to Covington, Newport, Erlanger, Florence, Burlington, Dayton, Bellevue, Campbell County, all surrounding areas in the northern Kentucky side. Definitely peace and love, and shout out to the Natty. How y'all doing?
Yeah, man. What you been up to this week, man?
Door dashing.
For real?
I told you, look,
You
I was
it?
gonna give it a try, right? It's all right. It's all right. Relaxing. You know, the right lyrics while I'm driving in my head. Smile at people when I bring what the thing that, just like when I used to do UPS, you see parts of the city that you never, the streets that you driven past several times, and you turn down those streets and you're like, oh, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. And then, you know, you just experience all these different people and their families, you know what I'm saying, coming to the door, the kids might be at the door, waiting for the food. Mm-hmm. Just little different little nuances, man, that help you either inspire you to do something more, like I need a house like this,
Sure.
or makes you feel good where you are, you know, as far as in life. For some people, you know, some people's situations, when you go to the doors, it's like it's just this lonely person. Thank you, man. You just get like, I know he's gonna be eating all my you know what I'm saying? I'll be like, dang, you have a good night, man. Right.
How long have you guys been watching my social life? Jeez.
Oh, it was you.
It was always us.
Right.
Like, I'm not sitting in the Taco Bell drive-thru.
You
know,
that's 5 minutes away.
And if you hear those voices and you're like, that sounds familiar, I think I heard them at another time on the same station. That's crazy. It's because it is. Introduce yourselves and talk about what y'all do.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mark. I'm the host.
James.
I'm sorry.
Didn't mean to cut you off, Mark.
I'm going to cut you off now. So James and I co-host the weekly hookup here, Fridays at 5 o'clock. We do a bunch of event giveaways on the show. Our basis is like a very loose adherence to whatever the weekly events are, and then from there we just we think we're funny, and we go from there and hope for the best.
They haven't stopped us yet, so I mean,
that's the
only
same
positive
thing.
reinforcement.
Yeah.
We just try to be the event coverage people too. Like I loved last year. We had a really good run where we got to go to a bunch of. I don't know why I'm talking so fast. I don't know how to talk all of a sudden. I did the same thing all my guests do. I'm like, oh, somebody hit record, we're done.
Right.
But we got to cover a bunch of rock festivals last year, which was awesome. Like having the station backing that sort of stuff up was really cool. So
Great support.
You know, I don't want to tell that on air to other people, but at the same, I don't want to like really give up the game. But at the same time, like, guys, it's a great move. Good.
Right.
We got accepted to Voodoo Festival last year, which is in the fall, and I was so excited. But with most festivals, they only tell you like 3 days in advance. They're like, hey, you're in. Can you make it to New Orleans on probably the biggest weekend of the year, and also hope to afford a hotel at that price? It was absurd. So anyway, good stuff though. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah,
seriously.
thanks.
Six, I followed you for years on social media, and you've just been a constant source of delight in my office. Like little short Instagram videos, and then when I saw you doing the station here, I was like, that's really awesome. And Vibe, I was telling you beforehand, you've seriously been I don't know what it was, but you did a video back in like October, right? You released? Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, so many of my friends have been sharing that post this week. I'm like, it's so weird because I think I just met you recently at one of the Urban, when you two performed at Urban, not the most recent one, but a few months before that.
Exactly, yeah.
But then it was really kind of hilarious that I'm just like, weirdly, it's the middle of February. I was like, why is everybody sharing this today? And I was like, did something happen? You know, I was like, what's going on? You know? So anyway, it's nice to like actually get to sit down and talk with you too. So I appreciate your music, man. Seriously. So that's another big focus of the show. Obviously, the whole station is all about local music and stuff like that. But you know, we try to bring artists on, and I've got a pretty wide. I'm really just not into country music. Is really what it comes down to. And it's like aside from that, I'm like, dude, I don't know. I just don't get it. I like
violins, man.
Well, see, I love that by itself. It's so funny because like I get so into like jazz fusion, and there's a ton of like violin playing. And I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah. And then as soon as you put like a twang on it and a little like hate behind those lyrics, I just can't get into it. And my like inner city kid like just starts showing up because like I came from the East Coast originally, so I'm like so used to that like city environment, right? Like I spent a lot of my youth in New York City, and so I always think about that. And now that I'm here in Kentucky, or not that the station's, I live in Kentucky, but it's very funny. And I'm marrying a country girl, so it's even. She's like the weird liberal arts student that came out of. Yeah, well, it's hilarious to me because she's like that weird liberal arts student. Well, she came out of the country people, and it just cracks me up because I'm like, oh, that's weird. You look the part, but you're like, I want to draw and create, and I have all these lefty thoughts. I'm like, dude, I love this. But anyway, the point is, I'm always at odds in town here, so I just like to support music in general. You know, it's been that was the original passion.
That's funny, man.
So
So when did you develop that laugh?
So a lot of people. let me dive right into that.
The history. I gotta get video of this.
So about 7th grade, when I finally broke out of what you're probably already seeing is still the socially inept butterfly before you. But when that was really when I was a lot younger, I remember that coming out probably around when I was like 12 or 13. And I don't know if like I should have gone and seen someone about like a respiratory problem. And everyone thought I was faking it for so long. They thought I was faking the laugh, and they also thought my last name's Morlock. They thought it was a W for about 4 years. So they're like, when they finally realized it wasn't Warlock, it was a lot less cool, and the noise didn't match the name. But it's just, I don't know. I suck in N-word and probably shouldn't have phrased it like that. Immediately regret saying it like that.
Oh, you said inward.
Yeah. If you couldn't hear it on radio, we just thought he was about to die. I thought it looked painful.
No pain included, I can promise.
Hey man, that's funny, man.
Like stopping the belch from coming up.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's acid and reflux.
That's perfect though. I mean, Eddie Murphy was hilarious, but his laugh was, you know what I mean? That's good.
That's crazy. Yeah, you gotta patent that, man.
You can know when the joke lands because he gets the squeak out. You can almost count the amount of them to be like, how many ha's did you just type in the text? You know,
we've had people think that I've been planted in crowds before. I know we were at Woodward Theater once, and it was it almost was an issue there.
Yeah, it was really funny. We went to do some comedy night, and I had a bunch of friends performing. And I tried to always be really supportive of the comedy scene here in town too. And we went. And I think because I try to be a funny person, I think a lot of people thought I was doing a bit by staging a fake laugh. And it was one of those like odd coincidences where the theater was mostly filled. We didn't want to sit super far in the back, so we sat up front. Mm-hmm. And so we all had been drinking, and like James was laughing even more than normal. Yeah. And it was like show stopping, right? Because the Woodward is like one of those places that you could whisper and they'll hear you. But we're laughing, and you just hear that. You know, the Crazy Train starts playing.
That's crazy.
It was hilarious. And I remember the comics were really cool about it because, you know, I think they pretty quickly realized, like, oh no, this guy's just, you know, he's only doing it at good jokes. So I think we're in good shape.
Yes, it's all.
I think some of the crowd was mad. I felt bad. Yeah. I didn't feel bad about that. I was just like, I get it. You hate the way he sounds when he's very happy.
I'm silent most of my life.
Exactly.
Yeah, let it out.
Hey, if I was a comic, well, I am. If I was a traveling comic, I would take you with me. I will keep you on the road with me.
That is the highest praise 6 I think I've ever got. So you're hearing it now.
Any comedian, hey man, just sit there and just do what you do, man. Mm-hmm. It's all about you, really.
It's true.
It's all about you and my ego.
Yeah.
I mean,
that sounds just like our show. You and my ego.
Talk a little bit about our show.
So I mean, Mark's been there for a lot longer, but since I've been on, we've tried to get into a structured pattern where, I mean, we're kind of our narrative skit comedy, but in a radio format. We have a few segments we've been trying out. But yeah, no, we bring in the local music, we interview people, we go out and we find new music and go to these big festivals and talk to those people. And I mean, I think it's just it's a media show, I think, all around.
I agree with that. I think because we're media people in general, by day James and I work together producing commercial video work for this company based out of Northern Kentucky, and I think because we're kind of around that, we keep trying to figure out this multimedia approach. So when I think back to like my influence as radio, like when I was a kid, I watched David Letterman a ton. I was like all about like the late show kind of host and that vibe. I loved him. I loved Howard Stern. A little bit Bob and Tom. I always thought that was a little on the cheesy side, but like the kind of the format was there, right? Where I was like, okay, it's all pretty structured. And then years ago, I went to work for a station up in Hamilton called Class X. And I learned a lot working for that station. It was like the first time I'd ever worked in like a real radio station. And they had a lot of structured formats. I remember, I'll never forget, Bill, the owner, had this like clock on the wall. It was a little paper clock, but it had all of your segments and breaks set up, and it was like, okay, during this time, here's something. This time is this, and it was kind of like, you know, you could play with it in flux as far as however you wanted to run your show.
Right.
But I was thinking back to that recently. So James and I took a trip to Orlando for work, and on that they gave us Sirius, and we were just listening to talk radio like for 12 hours straight.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because I was like, oh wow, this is cool. It made the whole drive go way faster. And then I kept thinking, I was like, you know, okay, these are people getting paid a lot more than we are to do it.
By
I'm like,
far.
and I always try to look at everything like, what did I do wrong? Like, I think a lot of people out there, especially creatives, struggle with like holding the mirror up to themselves.
Can we come around the table, Lou? Because I want people to see your face too. Keep telling your story.
Yeah, absolutely. As I shuffle here, I was like, sorry, Six, I can't breathe and move at the same time, as we found on the way up the stairs.
It's all good, man.
No, but listening to all these people, I know where I was going. I was saying that I think sometimes creatives struggle with and I know this is something I struggled with a lot in my youth, which is kind of being hard on yourself, right? And like, you got to put the mirror up every so often, like, what am I doing? You know, because I think a lot of us are very quick to go, it's the audience, man, and people just don't support. And you see it on social media all the time. There's always like someone breaks about once a week, and they're just like, man, I've been out there, blah, blah, blah. And like, you see it, and it's always funny, but then sometimes we're also that person. Yeah. And I try really hard to not be that person and not be like, okay, you know, now it's like everybody's got a show, everybody's got a product. And I tell him, I was like, well, I was complaining to my fiance all the time. I'm like, I have so many things I'm trying to do, right? Like, we're about to release another short film, and I'm like, oh, I bet people are just so sick of hearing from me. Like, of course, he's got something else going on. But I guess the point was I try to be really solution-focused. So, like, looking at, all right, how can we grow the base, right? Six, you and I have been talking about this for a while behind the scenes, just like, how do we expand the station? Like, what can we do to make the blip into a blob, for lack of a better word?
Because we got the platform.
Yeah, for sure we do. And we've got a big I mean, when we partnered up with VXU and Cincinnati Public Radio, that's huge. I mean, find another station that's doing what we're doing that also has that kind of power behind it. You don't. It's usually just like word of mouth, internet traffic only, but I think Scott, Tyler, and Jeremy, they had a vision. It's another one of those things, right, where you can like kind of separate the herd. Mm-hmm. Where you can see that there's a vision and plan, and someone's like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to take it. So after spending all this time in the car in the last few weeks, and we had a light structure to the show, but once we actually got in and we're listening to all these other programs, I'm like, dude, we just have to segment all these bits out, and we got to maybe come up with some recurring bits. So we sat in the office, and we were like, all right, it was just like lunch every day for a week. We're like, what are we going to do? What things can we do that are different? What's something that we think is funny that we might think other people think is funny? And then on the other hand, since Lindsay works in marketing, I'm like, how can we tie this into social media? How can we drive content this way? And so I'm sitting there like watching trends all the time and be like, okay, should we be talking about this? And trying to stay on the news. And because we pre-tape, it's sometimes a little hard. So there have been those times where we're like, all right, tape the night before and hope that nothing happens in the morning kind of thing. Right. You know, it's like, how did you guys miss this huge story? You're like, well, it's the nature of the beast. And, but I think that was our big thing recently is like, how do we restructure and what can we do to change it? So yeah, recently the format has gotten just a little tighter. We brought in a couple new segments, so good that we have to now run a disclaimer on our show.
That our views are not expressed besides ourselves.
Which I'm like, I'm not upset about that. Please don't misunderstand. But yeah.
I should definitely do it.
Dude, they just had me record our own little bump for it. So we're just like, so at the beginning, and I'm just like, these views are not shared by the station, even though they're really great views. You know, and so.
But I think it's the fact that, like, all they asked for is like that bump, and then they still give enough trust to go out and we get to make the kind of show we want to make. And I think because we have a huge reach, the station does, and
not us.
I mean,
shout out to my 2 listeners right now, Mom. If you're not, she doesn't listen.
But I think with that much power and that much trust behind it, I mean, I think all of us have. I mean, the people that have a vision on this station, I think, are going to go far. And, I mean, already, I could listen to you two talk all day, and I love how structured your show is. Not structured, sorry. I already see I'm getting ahead of myself, but I mean...
James, you're done.
Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm already out the door.
Car's running.
Rambling.
No, but what I appreciate, because just knowing, because sometimes you may not see the people who actually listen.
Oh, sure.
And a lot of times, me personally, I'm doing so much stuff I don't even get to hear our show back.
Sure.
I'm doing something else. I'm
Yep.
like, oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to make sure other people, because it's really for the people. Once we do it, and from my perspective, I do like to listen back though. But long as the people get what we try to put across on the show, I feel like that's the key. Whether I hear it back or not, but I've been getting a lot of people like what you guys said. We've been listening, or I saw the.
I'll try to jump in. So since we work together, I'll try to jump into the live streams every so often too.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
usually just sit around and be like, "Oh, cool," you know. And I like again, it's just one of those things that like I want to support everybody that's doing stuff I think is interesting, and I think that's a huge part of it, right? And not to be like our taste, you know, our mutual tastes are so good,
right.
But at the same time, it's like you like what you like. I'm happy to support it. So I appreciate you guys giving us a platform to tell other people about our show and just.
Definitely.
It's fun to just be ourselves with other people, you know?
Yeah,
Conversations are the key, right? Like, earlier on, you were mentioning something I just kept thinking about. When you were talking about the DoorDash thing. And you're like, it just makes you feel good in this. I'm like, yeah, there's, like, this interesting thing of connection you experience in those moments. I was thinking about that because we were taking lifts last night up to a concert, and I was like, not Eric Church, according to everyone else, since I was already hating on country music today. I was like, down with the twang, dude. I just can't get into it. No, but just thinking about that, like you get these like small slice interactions with people. I find that so fascinating. So what I like so much about talk radio and just in general is that it's like listening to other brains, as weird as that might sound. But I'm interested in other people's perspectives on everything because like every time, you know, I felt lucky as a kid. I got to travel a lot. My dad would do a lot of work trips, and he would usually just drag me along instead of my mom. And I was like, I don't know if that's telling about their relationship, but it worked out good for me. And now because of that, I like kind of seek those opportunities out to go like, okay. Because at the end, I think a lot of people just get so locked into whatever they feel. I mean, you see it on social media. You see it with like all the political stuff. Sometimes with like religious debates and things of that nature. People get so locked into whatever their day-to-day experience is, they just kind of stop thinking that there's like a whole world of people.
Exactly.
And every time you meet someone you don't know, you get like a little. It's like a video game, right? It's like you opened up a little new section of the map. You're like,
a creative has to always be experiencing something new all the time. I was just talking to EMAC about that. EMAC is like one of the best. Music engineers in the city, also part of Crack Sauce. But just was talking to him about how you just gotta experience something new all the time because you gotta always have a story to tell.
For sure,
right?
Y'all taking so many trips. I look at y'all, and like it looked like y'all have nothing but fun every day, all day.
A little of that I think is posturing, right? Like, you know, I mean, to a certain extent because that's the name of social media, right?
Yeah.
But I would argue, I don't know, you're jumping to. Sorry, James, I just talk a lot. So.
Oh no, trust me,
I'm
better.
overbearing.
No, I mean, I think going back to the creative thing, I think it's those like we crave those synapse responses, and like, no, we want to keep like, what form of media can we do next? What video can we shoot? We're always looking forward to what posts we can make and all of those things. So no, I think I think the station and our shows, especially ours with as wild as we get, I think it's nice to have that creative freedom to be like, oh, we have that that stupid idea that only maybe we find funny. We're still able to go ahead and do that, and that's not a freedom we
you
can
might
get like
find someone else that finds it funny.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, talking about the work stuff too, I think like we're lucky in that. I mean, most of the kids I went to school with, they're like still working at Kroger, and not that there's anything wrong with working at Kroger. Please don't misunderstand, but like. I knew I didn't want to waste all this time and money going to school to just be like, I can make videos, but I actually kind of can't because I'm working another job. Prior to this, I worked at AT&T selling cell phones for like 5 years. And I pretty much just got... And sometimes I think maybe creative people need that too, right? Kind of along the same lines where you have to hit that point where you're like, oh my God, I hate this. Like, this is worse. And I hated my job, and I was just like, I got to figure out